Hey, good day, everyone. I hope you're having a fantastic day wherever you are. If you're here on the First Coast or around the world, this is Weather Watchers Worldwide. Typically, I'm joined in by Lee Southwick. She's got the day off today, but we're going to talk about a few things here, not just, the local weather in Jacksonville, but we're going to be talking about, the entire country, this major winter storm that is setting up from Texas out towards the mid-Atlantic states and how it could even influence the weather on the First Coast. First, though, I do want to get to a new cyclone that has formed up that is the equivalent of about a hurricane off the coast of Australia. And we got, of course, this is Weather Watchers Worldwide. We got people from all over the world that have sent in some fantastic images. So let's get right into it today. First off, we are streaming live as well on some social media platforms. If you have any questions, you can always shoot them our way, and I'd love to get to them. All right, so let's get into it here. And first off, before I talk about this cyclone, I want to talk about, just briefly give you a quick look at the forecast for this snow and ice storm. And I know this is the most basic of it, but if you are out here anywhere in that pink, oh man, it's going to be a bad couple of days. I shouldn't say that. It's going to be rough, though. At the very least, you're looking at, a tenth of an inch of freezing rain in some of those lighter pinks, which would indicate straight up, slick conditions on the roads. But once you get up to about a quarter to a half an inch, we're talking about, like power outages, travel delays. Some of those darker blues there indicating heavy snowfall, which in spots, parts of Oklahoma could see 1 to 2 feet, maybe over towards the I-95 corridor and parts of Pennsylvania over towards southern New York. It's going to get messy out here. So let's flip the script completely, though. I do want to take an eye on the tropics, though. I'm talking tropics here. I know during the summer, this is like the big topic, but I always like to say, hey, we're watching these no matter where you are in the world. And the first thing I want to bring you to is this newest cyclone has not been named by the Bureau of Meteorology out of Australia yet, but it is being dubbed 17 by the Joint Typhoon Warning Center. Look at that. Notice the clockwise rotation. We are in the southern hemisphere. It is off just the Kimberley coastline in northwestern Australia. Right near Broome is where it's going to be coming on shore as about the equivalent of a stronger tropical storm. It might get up to a Cat 1 intensity before making that landfall. I think that is very well possible on the Saffir-Simpson scale. Fun fact, the Australian scale is different than the Saffir-Simpson scale. So their Cat 5 is about the equivalent of a low-end Cat 4. It's just the storms don't get quite as strong as in the Atlantic, so the scale is slightly different. But right now, this is still strengthening here, as expected as we go ahead through the rest of the day to get up to that 65-mile-per-hour wind, and then it could be right teetering around 70 to 75 before it does come on ashore. But yeah, cyclone season is still ongoing here in Australia, and you can see with the future cast, this comes on shore right near Broome, moves inland into the outback, a very dry area the further inland it goes. So this always creates flooding and even opens up things like inland lakes and stuff that are usually dry. Whenever you get these cyclones ushering that moisture well inland, it can cause some flash flooding in a few spots. Good news is that it is the outback and not a lot of people live there. In fact, they're all mining communities really along the Kimberley coast there in northwestern Australia that are going to be impacted. Also, you can see over towards the Caspian Sea, I got some heavy rainfall over towards the far north into Queensland, just right around Cairns there. That's all due to another area kind of enveloped in the inner tropical convergence zone. But that's the eye on the tropics today. There's always an area to watch, and always try my best to keep you guys posted on what's happening out there globally. And speaking of why we call this Weather Watchers Worldwide, before we get as well into the snowstorm, I do want to share some images from around the world. And I love this one. Maja just sent this to me out of Slovenia. Isn't that beautiful? Oh my goodness. It's got some cumulus clouds there, and hey, I always love it. Always remember, if you want to send us some photos, you can send them to me directly, as Maja did here, or you can check out our First Coast News Weather Watchers Facebook page. If you go there right now, I'll approve you so you can submit photos wherever you are. All right, so that's out of Slovenia. Beautiful, beautiful weather. So our focus is going to be continuing to switch over to Europe over the coming days too, because don't forget, in Italy, we have the Olympics coming up. Excited for that. My favorite is the Winter Olympics. I love the Winter Olympics, mainly because I skied most of my life. I grew up on a ski team and, did a lot of it in Japan. Linda sent this in from the First Coast, though. This is out of Fernandina, I believe. Beautiful sunrise out there. And also out of Offerman, Georgia today. Nice little sunrise. Those altocumulus clouds and reflecting the sunlight and creating some beautiful conditions there for you. Bouncing over to London, Ontario. This is from Mabes out there. This is just outside of Toronto, I believe. It's towards the west of London there, about halfway between there and Niagara Falls. Got a couple inches of snow on the ground, and that snow continuing to come down. We're actually been looking at some fairly wintry weather, and I'll have more videos showing you in just a little bit here about what's happening up there. And then you look out at Mauritius. Damien sent this one in. This is in the Indian Ocean. I love it. Love it. Great shot there out of Mauritius in the Indian Ocean. Nice little kind of cumulonimbus just offshore. Then Frank Abel in Berlin. Oh goodness, I always say it wrong. That's in Germany, okay? They not getting the snow, but they are, the same latitude as like Newfoundland, so they got a little frost on the ground, a little cold out there into Eastern Europe. Thank you very much. Frank and I go back a long way. I've known him for a long time. Fantastic meteorologist out there in Germany, and I put out the call for some weather photos. Of course, he sent them our way, and then I used this one yesterday, but I want to share it again. This is out of Hokkaido, Japan. That is that snow, that continued sea effect they're still seeing out there. Heavy, heavy snowfall due to a winter storm cruising across the Sea of Japan. A big old cold surge just continuing to snap in. And then anytime you talk about Japan, people always think about Tokyo, Nagoya, Osaka, and they think of like big cities, but one of the snowiest places on Earth is there in northern Japan, specifically Hokkaido. That's why, speaking of the Olympics, which are in Italy this year, twice they've been held in Japan. If one in Sapporo, not far from where that video was taken, and the other one in Nagano, which very similar setup. sea effect snow comes out of Siberia, picks up that moisture, drops it into the mountains there. Anyways, all right, so that's a look at that. I also quickly want to talk about, before we get into the winter storm, I'm throwing out the headlines here. I've been showing this the last few days. Update on our iceberg A23A. If you're new to this thing broke off in 1986. It's been floating around in the South Atlantic, but the last few weeks it has been melting. There's January 21st, and here's January 22nd. Ooh, that's the South Georgia Islands, just towards the east of it. You can see that island on the map, and you can see it's breaking apart. And I show this daily because I think this is going to be an interesting story. I think these days are numbered, and it's 40 years old. It's a big iceberg, and it's something that on the international stage, kind of interesting to watch. Once again, will not raise sea levels. Think of if you have an ice a cup full of ice and your ice melts. Is that going to raise the water level in your cup? Is it going to overflow? No. What's going to happen is it's just going to melt, and it takes up the same volume of water. Anyways, all right, let's go back to our winter storm. But before I get to that, I have plenty to talk about with this. I do want to throw you to a commercial here. Just real quick, 2 minutes, don't go anywhere. We just got to make the money here on Weather Watchers Worldwide, so we'll be right back in just a few moments.
Why do we come here? To reach for new heights, to dive to new depths. You can call it a team, even a community. That connection with others. We all deserve that. So why come here? This is why.
Swing into luxury, where golf and community come home. Located in St. John's, Florida, Stillwater is a premier 55-plus active adult community where golf is in your backyard. This bundled golf course community features a championship 18-hole course, top tracer practice facility, and resort-style amenities. Whether perfecting your swing or connecting with neighbors, Stillwater offers the perfect blend of relaxation and recreation. Live where every day feels like a getaway.
Maybe you're new to all this streaming, OTT, on-demand stuff. You need a trusted news and weather source, and we've got you with First Coast News Plus.
That's some pretty serious cold.
Get your most accurate forecast, your weather impact alerts,
heavy law enforcement presence,
extended breaking news coverage,
and that breaking news right now out of Camden County, Georgia,
and exclusive specials, all on your schedule. So download First Coast News Plus and start watching for free.
Welcome back. Always remember, we're still streaming on our social media platforms. Keep it weather related. I would love it to hear some of your questions or anything about the storm and the weather wherever you are. If it's not weather related, I ain't going to respond. All right, so let's talk about what's happening out here the next few days. And of course, our major winter storm starting tonight, heading through Monday morning. This is moving all the way from Texas to the Carolina coastline. It may not be impacting where you are. If you're watching here from, of course, the First Coast, this is going to stay well towards our north. But you do want to monitor traveling if you have any friends or family towards the north, because as this kicks on by, I mean, look at that. All those areas in pink indicating freezing rain. Of course, the blues indicating that snowfall. And eventually we could be looking at some rain here in Jacksonville overnight, Sunday night into Monday morning. But not a lot. You know, it's just going to be kind of a hits and misses. But here's the thing. Look at the winter storm warnings now. This is most recently updated. Winter storm warnings now all the way to the border of Mexico there in southern Texas to New York City. That is a massive, massive swath. Millions of people under winter storm warnings or watches at this time, including like Atlanta under a watch. Maybe not be getting the snow, but you're probably going to be getting that freezing rain here. And remember, this comes on the heels of some rather heavy snowfall we just got earlier this week. In fact, I want to show you some video out of Michigan where we had some pretty decent snow. The kiddos going to school, man, I've been in that. Nothing's worse than standing out in a blizzard and watching that big yellow school bus roll up, and you're like, yep, I'm still going to school today. Especially when you see semis pulled over who are like, that's too much. Now, they've seen several inches of snowfall earlier this week in this area, but it's just not about the snow. It was that wind and the cold, and that cold continuing to move in from the north. In fact, some areas just outside of Michigan could be looking at wind chills, especially over towards like Minnesota. Wind chills around minus 40 to minus 50 as we go ahead over the next 24 hours. Ouch. That is rough. I'll show you some video out of Illinois, too, where we had some snowfall coming down there. This was sent in from Landon Weather there, and always appreciate that. That's the heavy stuff we're talking about, which reduces the visibility. And so it's not just, the snow accumulations. We always get hung up on snow accumulations, but it's also the rate of snow. So when you're talking about, a foot of snow, how long does it take to accumulate? If it's taken just like 6 hours to do that, it means you're getting like 2 inches an hour, and that can cause some major issues, not only, just with that overall accumulations, but you just don't want to drive in that whiteout conditions, reduce visibility, and just remember to take your time if you have to drive in something like that. But thankfully, Landon's out there just in the parking lot, looking at people, trying to get around and trying to be safe here. Let's pull back the picture. Let's talk about our futurecast here, and we're going to gander over at the latest from the ECMWF. And first and foremost, this is developing in the southwestern United States. So around the Four Corners region, you're starting to see this come together. It is pulling in polar air. In fact, let me pull up the polar graphic here, because it's pulling in polar air clear in from northern Canada, which is just cold right now. Look at this, minus 30 at International Falls. It is colder at International Falls than further towards north, because overall this whole polar vortex is shifting south. So we got frigid temperatures already diving in places like Iowa, South Dakota, Minnesota, minus 20 to minus 30. So you get that cold air interacting with the warm air coming in from the south. In Jacksonville here, we're going to be in the 80s on Sunday. This is along a good portion of the Gulf Coast. So you get that warm air feeding into this, combined with that very cold air. Meteorology 101. Cold interacting with warm equals a battle zone, equals a storm developing. One of the biggest issues, though, is that we're going to get a lot of warm air intrusion. So that warm air being thrusted in from the south is going to overrun that very dense, colder air. And that's when we start to talk about freezing rain and sleet. And it has to be this type of setup to get those, because typically, you'll have a clean rain snow line. We had that with the last storm across the south this past weekend. Then north of that, though, it's just too cold. You're going to have pure snow. But also look at the tight pressure gradient. Some windy conditions are going to be mixed in there too. So you're going to be talking about some rough weather for a lot of these areas as far as the wind and blowing snow is concerned, just like you've seen in that video a few moments ago here. So it is a complex weather system. Definitely a lot of snow, that freezing rain mixed in there, which the freezing rain, just its own problem. But look at this, the darker purples there around Arkansas and in central Oklahoma City, this latest model run from the Euro, showing up to 2 feet of snow in Oklahoma City. That's ridiculous. And I know if you're from Western New York or Minnesota, let's say, 2 feet, nothing, I can handle that. This area there in Oklahoma, they get snow, but that's a lot. That's a lot of snow. And it's going to be hard for crews to kind of keep up. And even more so for places like Tennessee, North Carolina. Raleigh, North Carolina is going to get some snow there. Parts of Virginia, especially into the mountains, and even over towards places that do get snow, Philly and New York, but they get a lot in a short period of time. You're going to get that big accumulation, and it's going to be difficult for crews to kind of keep up with it. Because a lot of, in the metro, New York City, you have to, you can't just plow the snow. You have to put it into dump trucks and take it outside the city. It's a whole interesting process how they do it. And then we talk about the freezing rain threat, which is going to be a big issue here. And look at Dallas, Waco, Shreveport, Little Rock, Memphis, Nashville, Huntsville, Atlanta, Charlotte. A lot of major transportation hubs are going to be impacted by freezing rain. And I know a lot of airports do have de-icers, but when you got freezing rain, you're not taking off in that. you're grounded. Pretty much most airports are like, nope. And especially then the further in the south, you don't have de-icers. And it looks like this freezing rain could extend as far south as like Macon, could be on the leading edge of just like even that trace of freezing rain there in Georgia. So this is going to be a big issue too. And the other issue, and I'll talk more about it in just a second, is power outages that come with that. Cold air damming. This is another term that's going to help contribute to the freezing rain, because you see what happens, that cold air rushes in and it slams up against the mountains of the Appalachians. So you get a colder low level, and then you get warm air running over that from the south that runs up the mountains. And then you get that layered cake. You get snow, you get cold over warm over cold. And that also contributes to that threat of freezing rain across parts of the Appalachians. So it's a very complex weather system, which is why I always say, no matter where you're watching right now, of course, most of you out of Jacksonville, and I appreciate that because I'm your local meteorologist, but I say always tune into your local meteorologist, because they're going to be the ones that are going to be able to, especially in a complex weather system like this, the ones that give you the details on exactly how the weather is going to be impacting where you are. They're the ones that are looking at it all day. They're going to let you know exactly where the freezing rain line and the snow is going to be, because this is a very serious storm. And it's one of those where you can't be like, oh yeah, we get snow, all right, whatever, or weatherman's hyping it. Not. This is a serious one. Half an inch of ice means dangerous travel on the roads, widespread tree damage, long-term power outages. I've been in an ice storm when I was little. We lost power for like 2 weeks. And then on top of that, it's cold out, which we have a big blast of cold air behind us, which creates heating problems. So there's a lot happening with that. And this is just another look at those precipitation types here. I'm talking about with that freezing rain. The basically that snow starts off at snow, it melts, and I'm right near the surface. It runs into a colder pocket of air and then freezes on contact with the ground. And then that's when you get, of course, freezing rain here. And also can make for some slick conditions. So you want to slow down, tap those brakes, avoid the travel, or you can end up like this person out of Michigan. I'll show you a video here of somebody, they got wrapped up in a car crash. This is scary. Katie Holmes sent this one, and oh my goodness, that's terrifying. That is a multiple vehicle accident. This is from earlier this week. This is not the current storm, but this is why you want to avoid the travel across any of these areas here. That is just dangerous and a scary phenomenon. It's one of my just nightmares being stuck in something like this, especially, if the snow is coming down and you end up in one of these areas that are rather rough. There's whiteout conditions, and you get things like semis, which really, it takes a lot for them to slow down. They're going to have a hard time stopping. Especially in slick conditions and with reduced visibility, and they won't see it to the last second. They did get the buses out there, help picking up people, because you're not driving away if you're stuck in the middle of that accident out there. But oh my goodness, scary stuff from Katie and Pedro there, sending them in. So let's pull back the picture. Let's talk about this as far as the First Coast is concerned and Jacksonville. And we'll wrap it up with that here in just a few minutes. First, we're going to go to commercial break real quick, and then we're going to wrap up with our forecast for Jacksonville, for everybody around the First Coast, and how this storm system is going to impact us.
Why do we come here? To reach for new heights, to dive to new depths. You can call it a team, even a community. That connection with others. We all deserve that. So why come here? This is why.
Swing into luxury, where golf and community come home. Located in St. John's, Florida, Stillwater is a premier 55-plus active adult community where golf is in your backyard. This bundled golf course community features a championship 18-hole course, top tracer practice facility, and resort-style amenities. Whether perfecting your swing or connecting with neighbors, Stillwater offers the perfect blend of relaxation and recreation. Live where every day feels like a getaway.
Maybe you're new to all this streaming, OTT, on-demand stuff, you need a trusted news and weather source. And we've got you with First Coast News Plus.
That's some pretty serious cold.
It's your most accurate forecast, your weather impact alerts,
Heavy law enforcement presence.
extended breaking news coverage,
And that breaking news right now out of Camden County, Georgia.
and exclusive specials all on your schedule. So download First Coast News Plus and start watching for free.
All right, welcome back. All right, this one's for my Jacksonville friends here on the First Coast. Let's talk about this winter storm and how it's going to influence our weather. Well, number one thing is it's going to stay mostly to the north. Yeah, there will be some rain by Sunday night into Monday morning. But for the most part, we're going to be actually enjoying some very warm temperatures this coming weekend. Roller coaster ride a bit, though, as we look at highs into the 70s here on Friday. Then it cools down a bit on Saturday and warms back up heading into Sunday before a big cool down heading into next week. And this just very deep chill begins to return. So looking ahead into the weekend, 64 here on our Saturday. Sunday's going to be a high of 80 with that nice warm up and a southerly breeze at about 10 to 20, gusting to 30 miles per hour. So both days, especially Sunday might feel like a good day to get the boat out in January and go, cruise around a little bit. One, the water temps are still very chilly. So be careful with that. And two, there's going to be a chop, even not on the ocean, but on the river, especially if you're out on the St. John's where it's oriented north to south. There definitely is going to be a long fetch area, which can increase some pretty decent chop into the afternoon, the evening, when those winds start to really pick up at their highest. And we can even see that here with our high resolution futurecast. We have the winds starting to come in from the north and east first on Saturday, but then they swing around into the south, and that northeast breeze, by the way, is the reason why Saturday is a little bit cooler than Sunday, because the winds are coming in off the ocean, which is, as I mentioned, cool. And then we take a look. Let's rewind this a little bit. So this is 9 o'clock. We start to see that leading edge of showers. Might even get a couple thunderstorms in there. I think if it happens, it would be a stray bolt of lightning. But it's possible, especially with all this warm, moist air interacting with this cold blast behind it. I mean, this storm is not weak. And then we see this move through heading into Monday morning. And I think by the time most people wake up on Monday, this is 5, 6 o'clock, the rain's going to be moved out. So really is a midnight to about 3 a.m. phenomena, which is about the time most people are sleeping. So cool. High of 80 here on Sunday, though. Monday, we get down to 56 degrees, and then we talk about this blast of cold air coming in behind it, which is definitely going to keep things on the frigid side. Tuesday, we're back to 27. And so there's that roller coaster. 77 Friday, then we cool down a little bit on Saturday, but we rebound nicely by Sunday before you fall off of the edge of the roller coaster right into the 20s or by Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. And even heading into next weekend, it's still going to be on the chilly side. You see the 31st to the 1st, we got lows into the 30s. The Donna Marathon and the Donna 5K is the 31st. The Donna Marathon is on the 1st around the First Coast, Jacksonville Beach. We have some cold weather, so it's going to be interesting how people dress appropriately when you're running 20 kilometers. What are you going to wear? I say this because I'm running in it, and I'm doing the half, and I don't know what I'm going to do because it's cold to start, but after like 10 kilometers, you're sweating. Got to plan appropriately, I suppose. Anybody's got any tips? Shoot me a message. I want to hear you. I want to hear from you because it's my first half. The P's of keeping cold, staying warm. Don't keep cold. Stay warm in the cold. Protect those people, pets, plants. And this not only just goes for Jacksonville and the First Coast in that outlook, but also all across the United States with this upcoming winter storm, which is going to be keeping people very cold. So you want to make sure your friends and family and everybody you know, and if you got any travel plans, everybody's staying safe because that's the number one thing of why we do what we do here. So yeah, that's a look at weather watchers worldwide today. Do have a couple people that have commented. One person, from the other side of the world actually said they want to touch on the weather. I said, send us some photos next time and we'll talk about it. And that'd be fantastic. So thank you guys so much for always jumping in and stopping by here at Weather Watchers Worldwide. On Monday, Lee Southwick will be here. I'll also be streaming on FCN Plus here tomorrow, watching this storm right here in this room. And we'll be just focusing on the storm. And also don't forget this afternoon at 4:30 p.m., our chief meteorologist, Lewis Turner, will be here as well, discussing this storm and the weather forecast locally here in Jacksonville. There's always something going on in FCN Plus and across Jacksonville, so of course we'll always keep you posted on the weather forecast there for you. As always, thanks for stopping by. Stay safe out there, and I hope you have a great day.